Thank you very much, Madam Vice President. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, it is an honor for me to present my final report to the Human Rights Council in my capacity as the UN Special Rapporteur on the sale, sexual exploitation, and sexual abuse of children. Over the past 6 years, this mandate has taken me across regions, institutions, communities, and digital spaces. I have listened to children, families, frontline workers, government, civil society, and private sector actors. And all through it all, one truth has remained constant. The protection of children from sale, sexual exploitation, and sexual abuse is not just a legal obligation. It is also a moral imperative that defines who we are as a global community. This report is a reflection on a call to action. It takes stocks of progress, identifies persistent gaps, and highlights new frontiers that demand urgent attention. It is grounded in the lived realities of children whose rights have been violated and the tireless efforts of those working to prevent such rights violations. To inform this report, I sought input from a wide range of stakeholders, for which I received over 120 submissions. I also drew from my experiences on country visits and information gathered through literature review and meetings held with stakeholders. I want to thank every stakeholder for their contributions. Madam Vice President, from the contributions received, the instrumental role played by the mandate in advancing global effort to combat the sale, sexual exploitation, and sexual abuse of children is recognized. Over the past years, we have seen meaningful advances wherein many states have strengthened legal frameworks criminalizing the sale and sexual exploitation of children in line with international standards. Awareness has grown regarding the interconnected nature of these crimes, how sale, trafficking, and online exploitation and sexual abuse often overlap and reinforce one another. We have also witnessed stronger international cooperation, more survivor-centered approaches, and deeper engagement with the private sector, particularly the technology and travel industries. My mandate has produced thematic studies that have helped shine a light on complex issues from online child sexual exploitation to the exploitation of children in the context of travel and tourism, and the sale of children in various other contexts. These developments demonstrate that progress is possible when political will, resources, and partnership align. In terms of the structure of my mandate, the Human Rights Council successfully amended its title from the Special Rapporteur to the sale and sexual exploitation of children, including child prostitution, child pornography, and other child sexual abuse material, now to the Special Rapporteur on the sale, sexual exploitation, and sexual abuse of children. This change marks an important step in ending the use of terminologies that stigmatize and re-traumatize child victims and survivors, and aligns the mandate with languages or a language that upholds their dignity and rights. To effectively institutionalize my commitment to strengthening the meaningful participation of children and young people and recognizing their evolving capacity as agents of change and as key agents and partners, I established the position of Youth Advisor to the Special Rapporteur. This first of its kind role was created to deepen the mandate's engagement with young people, amplify their voices, and foster innovative, child-informed solutions to protect children's rights worldwide. Yet, despite these accomplishments, the scale and severity of violations against children remain alarming and concerning. Too many children continue to be sold, trafficked, sexually exploited, and abused, often in ways that remain invisible, normalized, and unaddressed. My report highlights several persistent challenges. While legal frameworks have improved, fragmented implementation still holds us back. I have observed the lack of harmonized laws and coordinated systems, and the technical capacity needed for consistent actions. The prevention and early detection remains weak, with responses often coming only after harm has occurred. Data gaps and underreporting continue to limit evidence-based decisions. And without stronger accountability mechanisms, the private sector's role in prevention and response remains largely voluntary. These gaps are not abstract. They translate to children left unprotected, perpetrators unpunished, and cycles of harm that continued across generations. One of the central messages of this report is that the landscape of child sexual exploitation is evolving rapidly. Children face growing risk due to accelerating digital threats and intersecting global crises. Technology-facilitated child sexual exploitation and abuse have intensified. Conflicts and climate-related disasters continue to create conditions conducive to child sexual exploitation and abuse, and the growing extractive industries further heighten children's vulnerability, whilst harmful sexual behaviors amongst children add another layer of concern. These new frontiers require us to rethink our strategies, update and effectively implement our legal framework, and invest in technological solutions that match the sophistication of those who seek to harm children. I continue to believe in a clear path forward, one that is grounded in human rights, centered on children, and anchored in the prevention, protection, and accountability. I would therefore continue to call on member states to strengthen, harmonize, and effectively implement legal frameworks that criminalize all forms of exploitation, invest in digital safety, including the regulation of AI-generated content, and stronger oversight for technology platforms, enhance cross-border cooperation, recognizing that these crimes do not respect national boundaries, ensure survivor-centered justice, including access to remedies, recovery, reintegration, whilst addressing the root causes of poverty, discrimination, social exclusion, and engage with the private sector as a proactive partner. Above all, I call on stakeholders working with and for children to ensure that children are placed at the center of every decision, every policy, and every intervention. Their voices, experiences, and rights must guide our collective efforts. Madam Vice President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I would now like to introduce to you some of my main conclusions and recommendations gathered from my country visits to Germany and the United Arab Emirates. Let me begin by thanking both governments for their availability and the spirit of constructive dialogue and cooperation presented before, during, and after my respective visits. My visit to Germany took place on from the 14th to the 25th of October 2024, and I held meetings in Berlin, Düsseldorf, Cologne, and Wiesbaden. I met with representatives of government, the Independent Federal Commissioner Against Child Sexual Abuse, the National Rapporteur Mechanism on Trafficking in Persons, members of the civil society and academia, service and care providers, and children. Overall, I found that Germany has devoted increased attention and resources to improving its policy, legal, and institutional frameworks for the prevention of sexual exploitation and sexual abuse of children and their protection from such offenses. However, I noted that each of the federal states and municipalities in Germany adopt varying approaches and practices on child protection. While that allows for tailoring of local needs and contexts, it often results in fragmented measures and lack of coordination, which in turn affect the care and services provided to children. There is therefore the need to ensure consistency and harmony in approaches and implementation across the country, because children everywhere, anywhere in Germany, should receive equal protection of their rights and similar support services and care. Madam Vice President, my visit to the United Arab Emirates, which took place from the 14th to the 24th of April, was a follow-up visit from the last one that took place in 2009. I held meetings in all 7 emirates with government officials, representatives of the National Human Rights Institution, academics, civil society organizations, UN agencies, service and care providers, and children. Overall, since the visit of the previous mandate holder in 2009, the government has substantially transformed the child protection landscape by putting in place robust legislative, institutional, and policy measures. The best interests of the child have been integrated into many child protection policies and initiatives, and strong efforts are made to empower children and raise public awareness to combat the culture of silence surrounding child sexual abuse. However, I highlighted in my report that there is a need for strong monitoring and evaluation system to measure the impact of the government's various initiatives. Madam Vice President, the foregoing reports are presented in the spirit of constructive engagement and dialogue. Excellencies, as I conclude my tenure, I am deeply grateful for the trust placed in me by the Human Rights Council, the support of the co-sponsors of my mandate, Uruguay on behalf of GRULAC, and the EU delegation, and for the collaboration of states, civil society, UN entities, and most importantly, the children and young people who share their stories and experiences with me. Their courage has shaped this mandate and strengthened my conviction that change is not only necessary, but possible. The sale, sexual exploitation, and sexual abuse of children are not inevitable. They are preventable. They are rooted in choices, political choices, economic choices, technological choices. And because they're rooted in choices, we have the power to choose, to uphold and protect the rights of children, close the gaps and leave them vulnerable, and build a world where every child is valued, protected, and free from every form of exploitation. I thank you for your kind attention.